When my son was a junior in high school, he and I took a 3-day trip to New Orleans during summer vacation. It was an easy decision since Spirit Air had a very cheap flight for $120 per person. We stopped at the Club BWI at Baltimore Airport before taking a late-night flight and arrived at New Orleans Airport in just 2 hours and 20 minutes. After arriving at New Orleans Airport, we took an Uber to our hotel, Hampton Inn and Suites New Orleans downtown. The ride took about 30 minutes and cost around $40. I booked the Hampton Inn using Hilton Honors points. We arrived late at night and went straight to sleep at our accommodations on the first day. The next morning, Hampton Inn provided breakfast. It wasn't very tasty, but it was convenient. The room and bathroom were quite basic and felt a bit old. While the hotel's location was good, I wouldn't recommend it. If not for the Hilton points, I wouldn't have booked it. In the morning, we walked 17 minutes from the hotel to the National World War II Museum. We frequently saw families with teenagers visiting the museum. It offers an immersive and detailed look at World War II. It's a rare museum where you can see records of World War II, and it's a good place to spend some time with teenagers. For lunch, we took an Uber to Willie Mae's Scotch House, a famous local spot known for its fried chicken. The restaurant had a strong southern local vibe. It was said to be a legendary chicken restaurant that had been around for about 70 years. The fried chicken was delicious, and the cornbread was also great. After lunch, we took an Uber back downtown, which took about 10 minutes. Our first stop was Café du Monde. Beignets, a deep-fried pastry of French origin, are so popular that there's always a line to get them. We tried the beignets, but they weren't particularly impressive. You can also visit Jackson Square, which is located right next to Café du Monde. We spent some time near Jackson Square and then leisurely walked back to the hotel, getting more familiar with the downtown scenery along the way. After resting at the hotel, we returned to Felix's Restaurant and Oyster Bar near hotel for dinner. Since we were in New Orleans, we couldn't miss having oysters. This is a place where they grill oysters over charcoal, and you can even watch the grilling process. The raw oysters we ordered tasted average. The gumbo was delicious, and I also let my son try fried crocodile meat for the first time. The fried crocodile meat had a texture similar to fried chicken. Of all the dishes, the must-try at this restaurant is the oysters grilled over charcoal and served with bread. They were so delicious that I wished I could have ordered a few more. After resting at the hotel for a while, we took a walk around downtown and enjoyed the sights. That evening, we went to see a jazz performance, which was the main reason we came to New Orleans. My son is a jazz lover. You can buy tickets for the Preservation Hall jazz performance on their website. Since we didn't think we'd have the chance to see this performance often, I decided to buy first-row tickets for the 7:30 p.m. show at $50. You should line up to enter in advance before the performance. The venue itself was very small and had a distinctly local feel, creating a unique and intimate atmosphere. I had high expectations for the experience. I believe buying the first-row ticket was a great decision. We could feel the performer's breath and every movement. As soon as they started playing, the performance touched my soul so deeply that tears welled up in my eyes. The level of performance was outstanding, and the atmosphere and emotional expression made it unforgettable. You must see a jazz performance here. My son was so moved that he couldn't stop staring in awe. On the way back to the hotel, still basking in the afterglow of the performance, my son said, "This is a jazz performance I will never forget. I don't need to do anything else in New Orleans." It was truly a satisfying experience. Downtown is not a place you'll want to stay for long, with people milling about, street performers, and some homelessness, but it's not dangerous or anything. The next day, we took an Uber to Parkway Bakery and Tavern, which is famous for its po' boys. We had heard that trying po' boys in New Orleans is a must, so we decided to visit this local spot. The restaurant had a very local vibe and an old-fashioned charm, so I had high expectations. We each ordered shrimp and beef po' boys, which are French bread sandwiches with generous portions. While they were a bit bland, the ingredients inside were freshly made, giving them a nice freshness. The sandwiches were so large that I could only eat half of mine. It was a very satisfying and enjoyable experience, as the store had a genuine New Orleans atmosphere. We headed back downtown and explored the streets, eventually walking to the dessert shop we had been looking for. We went to a dessert shop called Sucre, just a 5-minute walk from the hotel. While taking a break in Sucre, we ate ice cream and also bought macarons to give to our friends. Here are some photos of buildings I took while walking around downtown. That evening, we went to Acme Oyster House, just a 5-minute walk from the hotel, and enjoyed gumbo and oysters. Gumbo and charcoal-grilled oysters quickly became our favorites, and we had them often. This is something we often do, and that night, we ended the day by buying Arizona tea, Pringles chips, or nuts from CVS, and enjoying them in our hotel room. On our last day, we checked in early at the Ritz-Carlton, New Orleans, just a 5-minute walk from the Hampton Inn. We made the reservation using Marriott Hotel points. It was a luxury hotel with a somewhat flashy decor, which wasn't quite my style, but the room itself was comfortable. On the last day, we had a tour planned for the afternoon, so I went to Oceana, just a 7-minute walk from the hotel, to grab brunch to go. The gumbo I ordered wasn't bad either. On the last day, I booked the plantation tour. The Gray Line Oak Alley Plantation Tour costs $84 per person. It departs at 12 p.m. and returns at 5 p.m. from the Gray Line Lighthouse ticket office, which is about a 17-minute walk from the hotel. After about an hour on the tour bus, you'll arrive at Oak Alley Plantation. The grounds are quite expansive, so you'll have plenty of time to explore and take in the sights at your own pace. It is a well-preserved plantation. Here, you can see the houses where the enslaved people who worked on the plantation actually lived. The interiors are preserved in great detail, which is very impressive. It truly highlights the stark contrast in living conditions and class. You can also explore small shops and restaurants on the grounds. Above all, the highlight of this place is the alley of 250-year-old oak trees. The trees are so majestic that you'll find yourself taking pictures of them repeatedly. You can also tour the house where the owner lived. They organize visitors into time slots to allow everyone a chance to explore the interior. They didn't allow pictures inside, but the detailed explanations made up for it. I listened attentively to the history of the time and the stories of the owners who once lived there. The grounds were spacious and open, so we rested in the shade. On our way out, I took plenty of pictures of the trees. As it was almost time to head back to the tour bus, we slowly left the plantation. When we got back to the hotel, we stopped by the gym for a bit. My son went for a swim in the hotel pool. For dinner, we had Louisiana-style chicken at Voodoo Chicken and Daiquiris, located right next to the hotel. The portions were generous and satisfying. We enjoyed our last night in New Orleans while sipping on a refreshing and delicious Arizona tea. The next morning, we took an Uber to the airport early, stopped by the lounge, and then boarded a 3-hour flight back to BWI. New Orleans, where you can experience American culture and history. New Orleans is the only city in the United States that I truly like. It has a unique local atmosphere, unlike other American regions, and offers distinct local cuisine. I wanted to show my son the culture of New Orleans, and the trip turned out to be very satisfying. Above all, I highly recommend attending a jazz performance at the Preservation Hall. The plantation tour is also worth visiting, as it's a unique experience you can only have in New Orleans. Trying southern foods like gumbo, oysters, and alligator is a must. Although it was hot due to summer vacation, there were fewer tourists, so it was still enjoyable.